And welcome back to Conference USA Media Day. I'm Ron Thula. Now we turn our attention again to the women's side of Conference USA basketball. And joining us, he's the head basketball coach at Rice, Greg Williams. Greg, good to have you here again.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
And the head coach of Southern Miss, Joy Lee McNellis, one of my favorite people who had some great stories for me last night at dinner. Thank you for that.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Also, one of the newer members of Conference USA from Old Dominion, Karen Barefoot. Karen, welcome to the conference, first of all.
Glad to be here, Ron.
And one of the mainstays of the conference, and I guess I'd call you the dean or deaness, I don't know what it would be, of Conference USA coaches, Lisa Stocker. Lisa, good to have you here again.
Thank you.
What we're going to do is we'll start with Greg. We'll talk about each team, and then I'll throw out a question for all of you at the end. How's that? Okay. Greg, 14-16 last year, 6-10 in conference play. Your team played so hard last year. Where is the biggest need for improvement for your squad this season?
Shooting the ball. We were near the bottom, if not the bottom, and points were hard to come by. So that's got to improve for us. We had an interesting statistic in that we were last in field goal percentage and 6th in assists per game. That's very unusual.
No one on your team shot better than 41%, which I don't think I've seen that a whole lot in all my years of doing basketball.
I'm the shooting coach too.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you were an assist guy when you played. So, and as a team, you shot 36%. How much of that is mental, or how much of it is mechanical?
It's probably a combination. And running poor offenses is probably a factor as well. So, I don't know.
So do you have to tweak everything? I mean, to try to get easier baskets, or do you turn up the defensive intensity to get the easier baskets?
Well, we were pretty solid defensively. We're not a team that can go out and force. We also were last in the league in turnover ratio, so that's not a good combination. We're not a team that can go out and extend 94 feet and force a lot of turnovers, so we just had to play solid half-court defense, which kept us in games.
Well, the good news is you have 4 starters returning, including one of my favorites out of San Antonio, Reagan High School, Jessica Kuster, and Defensive Player of the Year for 2013, and she's always on the list. She is a very special young lady, both on and off the court.
Well, she is, and she's on track to be the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in Rice women's basketball history, and will finish 2nd in block shots. So she's had a tremendous career, and is one of 2 players to average a double-double all 3 years that she's played in college, which is very unique. And last year I think was even more special because we played her primarily at the small forward spot, and she still was able to maintain those numbers.
Now, obviously, she's going to be the focal point, but to be successful, you have to have other people step up to give her support so people just can't sag on her. Who will those other people be?
Well, we returned 4 starters, and they were our 4 leading scorers. So hopefully we have experience coming back, and hopefully some more confidence now that they've played a year of Division I. We were the 11th youngest team in the country last year, and so we're hoping that experience. We lost a lot of close games. We're still questioned at the point guard position, and that's the big question mark for us going in, is who's going to play the point.
New faces. Who should we watch out for this year?
Well, speaking of Maya Hawkins at the point has been very good in our early practices, and has the ability to lead a team even though she's a freshman, and right now she's probably leading the other 2 that are fighting for that spot.
Schedule.
Good non-conference schedule. Return our game to Baylor, go to Michigan State, and also play in Colorado's tournament. So we'll have a nice mix of top 25 teams, NCAA teams, as well as some of the more regional opponents that we play.
No, they'll still be good, but Baylor won't have the 6'8" person standing in the middle there.
Well, we're thankful of that.
I think
we held her to 35 last year.
You and the Big 12. We'll be talking to you in just a minute again, Greg. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we go to Southern Miss, Joy Lee McNellis. Joy Lee, in her 10th season. Only 2 of your top 7 scorers are back.
And that could be a good thing.
I was just going to ask you that. Explain.
We returned Jamira Faulkner. That's one of the better players in Conference USA, and I think arguably one of the better point guards in the country. She is a player that has made tremendous strides in our program, where she has added each year a little bit more to her game. And I think the one aspect of her game this year that makes her special, and is going to make her even more special, is her leadership abilities and cutting down her turnovers. She averaged a good many turnovers last year, and that was an area of her game that she wanted to commit to in the off season. So she's the one that spent time wanting her game film, wanting to watch how many turnovers she made, how she made her turnovers, and has done a tremendous job of truly sitting down and evaluating herself to make better decisions. So having her truly is the core. She's the cornerstone of this team. Geronte Clemens, the returning leading rebounder that averaged 8 boards a game for us last year as a freshman at 5'7", is just a competitor. She's just going to compete every single possession, and that's what makes her special. Does she know where she's going all the time? No. But she's going hard and she's going wide open to get there. And again, I think that is going to help us in the backcourt. Having the two of them returning in our backcourt is going to provide a lot of leadership for our newcomers. And we have 9 newcomers, 8 that will play this year. And I think they're very special. I think the thing that makes this group of newcomers very special is their desire, their passion. I call a couple of them throwbacks because they're in the gym. We had 2 that were in the gym after the football game the other night. You know, they have enjoyed just being in the gym. And we have 5 freshmen, and those 5 freshmen have said, Coach, we're here to make a mark. We want to make a difference. You know, we're going to do something special, and we want our career every year to get better and better. And just their whole attitude has truly been a breath of fresh air. And so that's why I say what I say that I said to begin the statement. I think that group, along with 3 junior college players that have had some junior college experience, is going to be able to help us. Now, as we all know, they've never played a Division I game. The area that they have struggled with in practice, we've only had 5 practices, is the physicalness of the game and the speed of the game.
Right.
And so as a staff, what we're doing, we play no out of bounds and we call no fouls. And so we're just letting them kill each other right now. And I think that's important because they got to understand that's the way it's going to be in a game.
Right.
Next week, we'll start blowing the whistle and kind of cleaning that up a little bit. But just for them to understand the speed of the game and the physicals of the game will determine how much success we'll have.
I want to talk about Jamira Faulkner because you and I were chatting last night about her, what a special individual that she is. 6.6 assists last season. She was obviously 11th best in the NCAA. But you mentioned the turnovers. Do you have to slow her down, or is that a fine line between trying to corral somebody but yet letting them have that exuberance?
You know, it's like Jamira kind of lives on that edge. It's like she lives on the edge to take a chance or not to take a chance. And that is the area of the game film that she has studied, is when she doesn't have numbers. Like last year, she would go 1-on-5. If the defense is set, she's going to the rim. Get out of her way. You know, or 1-on-3. And that's where she has really worked very hard in studying the film. She cut through Synergy, we cut all of her turnovers so she could see every game that she committed a turnover and how she committed it. And a lot of it, to be honest with you, is when she's off to the races and she didn't have numbers and she tried to create to make something happen. Now, again, to her credit, she felt like she had to shoulder the load of last year's team.
Right.
I don't think she has to shoulder the load to this year's team because we have several different players that can score the basketball. That, again, they've got to make that adjustment to the Division I level, but they have the ability to score the ball. So she has really studied that. And, you know, we had practice yesterday, and she went the entire practice and never turned the ball over. And so, again, she's making a conscious effort because she wants to have success for her team, and she wants to have some success as an individual.
You were out-rebounded by about 4 a game. Was that emphasis number 1 coming into this?
We discussed 2 things that was very critical, is communication and rebound the basketball. When your 5'7" freshman is your leading rebounder at 8 rebounds a game, what are the big folks doing inside? You know, scared of getting hit? Well, this year I think we've got a few more big folks in our newcomers group that don't mind getting hit. So I think that's going to help Geronte in rebounding the basketball.
Picked 13th in the league. Did you tell your players that?
Yes, told them. Actually, I was on my way to the airport and I sent them the text. And I told them that, and I said, it'll be up to you to make that change.
Do you think they have the maturity to go, that's not right?
Well,
Or is that something
several
you have
of
to wait to
them
be
text
seen?
me back and said, well, let's see what it is come February. And that was several of them's comment. Now, some of them were in study hall together. They were texting me from study hall, and I'm sure they got together and discussed it. But, you know, I think Jamera Faulkner alone
Yeah.
will help educate them. Now, I will tell you this about our league. I think our league is very good.
Yes,
I think there is tremendous amount of parity in our league. We had 9 teams that went to postseason play last year in our league. You know, we had several teams that won 20 games, 19 or more games. This league's going to be good, really good. And I think a team like us, it's going to determine how quickly our newcomers adjust to the college game to see how we'll do in Conference USA.
You haven't lost your passion, have you?
No, I love it. Love what I do. I've been doing it since I was a second grader, so I don't know what else I'd do in life.
I know that it's tough, but it's good to have you here again, and we'll
Thank
be
you.
talking in a
Appreciate
second.
it.
Old Dominion, of course, joining Conference USA this year, and the head basketball coach for the ladies, Karen Barefoot, in her 3rd year. Karen, good to have you with us.
Good to have you here too.
So, what's it like coming to Conference USA?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I'm sitting beside Lisa right now, and the last time I sat beside Lisa was she was recruiting me at Greensboro College in 1990.
Oh,
You're
had to
really
bring that
telling
up.
my age, right? You're telling my age now, but yes, yes.
So I get to sit by a celebrity right here, someone who I wanted to actually
Why
play
didn't you
for,
sign with
but
her?
then she ended up leaving and going to Georgia
I went to
Tech.
Georgia Tech. Yes,
Okay.
that's the
So-
only. That's why I lost her. I'm convinced that's why I lost her. So.
How tough is it, though, coming to a new conference? I mean, we've joked all morning about the operations people are trying to find hotels, places to eat, et cetera. But from a coaching standpoint, what is the transition for you?
I mean, we're excited to attack Conference USA. I think there's great coaches, there's great talent. I mean, any given night, you got to bring it every night. I mean, you look at the talent across the board. And so for us, you know, we're just working hard every day, you know, trying to build upon from last year. Last year was a solid year for us. And we had to, you know, we had Elena Deladon to work with Delaware. But now going to Conference USA, I think it's going to be great.
I look at your schedule. You're playing in the Basketball Hall of Fame Challenge, Ohio State, Bowling Green, and Marist. Then you have to throw in Pitt and Duke on the schedule. Your non-conference schedule is going to show you a lot, correct?
Yes, and that's something that we always, you know, made sure that we did in non-conferences. You want to be the best, you got to play the best. And so for us, you know, we wanted to make sure that our strength of schedule was tough. And looking forward to even, you know, playing Virginia Tech early to, you know, going to Pitt, going to Duke January 2nd. We want to prepare for Conference USA.
Let's talk about Shea Kelly, second leading scorer last season as a sophomore, 13.5, 7 double-doubles on the season. How much can she take her game up, and where does it have to improve in order to go that next extra notch?
Well, Shea Kelly is a special player. Anybody who's seen Shea Kelly, pretty much she can play any position on the floor. She has a scorer's mentality. She's a great defensive player, but she makes everybody around her better. And so for us, it's exciting because she will never talk about herself, but she can put double-doubles up every night. But she's tough on the other players, and I think that that's what makes our team special is that, you know, last season our bench outscored our opponent's bench 739 to 377, okay? And we were the 22nd youngest team in the country, and now we have help coming. So we have 4 returners. We have, 4 starters and 10 returners. And 3 newcomers and 1 that played football in high school. So we're excited about the rebounding she'll bring to us because that was something we were missing last year.
One thing you weren't missing last year is when you break down the numbers, 20 turnovers a game you forced, and opponents were only able to shoot 38%. Do the new players buy into your defensive philosophy?
Yeah, I always said that we're going to lead the nation in high fives and floor burns. I mean, we're going to get after it. We're going to scrap. We love to press. We love to push and share the basketball. It's fun for our team and it's fun for the fans. And so to play for, you know, us, that's what you have to do. You have to put the knee pads on. You have to get after it.
20 of the last 22 years you've been in the postseason. Does that make it easier because the players coming in know that there's a tradition, or does that make it harder to continue that tradition?
Well, every day they step on the court, they know that they're going to represent 11 letters across their chest. You know, Old Dominion had this great tradition, you know, 3 national championships, 25 NCAA appearances, and I can go on and on and on. But, you know, they take pride every day when they walk on that floor, and it starts with practice. And I love this group's mentality. I love their passion, their eyes on the goal. They're really excited about Conference USA.
Okay, we talked about Shea Kelly before we get to the rest of the group. What other players should we be aware of this year that may surprise all of us?
Well, Galicia Goodhope, they call her Gigi. She's a point guard. She's a pit bull. I mean, she just gets after it, and she's a 4.0 student. And she just steps on that floor, and she just gives her all. And as she goes, we go. She brings us lots of energy. We have actually 3 point guards. When we get our point guard from Portugal healthy, we'll be excited because I think we'll be really good at the point guard position. And then you have Stephanie Garner, who was a transfer from Miami. She'll be playing this year, and she's solid. To me, she's our leader of the team. and everybody else is going to contribute. You know, we never talk about one star. It's the whole team. It's all in and all out.
Karen, welcome to the conference.
Thanks.
We're going to get back to you in a second. Let's go to Lisa Stockton, head coach at Tulane in her 20th season. 4 wins away from 400. Pretty impressive, Lisa.
Thank you. I've been there a long time.
Yeah,
so.
well, you know, every coach has said that when you bring up how many wins they've had.
Yeah.
24-9, 11-5 in Conference USA. There are probably 99.9% of the coaches in college that would love that record. But were you disappointed the way it finished?
Well, we certainly wanted to go further in the tournament. We felt like we were playing very well down the stretch. We had some good wins there, and really, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Tulsa. I think we ran to Tulsa, and they were playing so well. I think that day we could have played anybody else in the conference and had a better chance. But we felt like we went in the postseason NIT and played very well. And probably our best game of the year was at Arkansas. I thought that was the best I saw our team play all year. Really stepped up. The young players really stepped up, and you know, in some ways, you look at maybe trying to get some of that momentum with those younger kids going into this season.
I look at no seniors on the roster, but that doesn't mean you don't have experience coming into this season.
Our junior class have probably played more minutes than any junior class I've had. They've played a lot of minutes, and when you look at our games that we felt like we really played well, where we beat a very good opponent, an LSU last year, different teams like that. That class was one that really led us there. So it's their time, and I think they're very excited about it.
47% of the rebounds, 41% of the points for the junior class. Just throw that stat out
Yeah.
there. That's pretty impressive. But you did lose your top 2 scorers from last season. That's about 21 points. Who has to up their average to fill that gap?
Well, I think there's 2 things. One is the leadership that Olivia Grayson provided for us in the senior class from last year. I mean, they were just hard-nosed type of players. So we have to replace that leadership, which our junior class is really trying to do that. But the other thing is it's a different role. And what my staff and I are trying to do is everyone has to up their game. We feel like we have the talent to do that, but whether Jamie Kaplan has to score more, we definitely believe Tiffany Dale has to have a bigger scoring role for us. Chinwe Duru has had a really good fall and just is in great shape. I think she's going to have to step up. But each player is going to have to step up their game, and I'm not going to leave Danielle Blagg out of that. I think Danielle had a great season, but she needs to become an all-around player, which is something I think she's really worked on this summer. You know, she is really a great athlete. People really underestimate her athletic ability. Really trying to make her be a better rebounder. I used the example of Grace Daly many years ago that played for us, that Grace could score, but what she could do is she got to the free throw line, she got offensive rebounds, she got points in transition. She's not our all-time leading scorer because she just shot. And I think Danielle has to really understand that, and she's put a lot of time into developing that part of her game.
You mentioned Danielle Blagg out of Smithson Valley High School in San Antonio, 9.8 points a game, but she's a three-point shooter. Over half her shots are three-pointers. Do you want her to do more than just shoot the three?
I do, because I think she can. She elevates so well, and when she puts the ball on the floor at 5'11", and she can elevate, she can shoot over about anybody. We have some practice guys, and she shoots over them all the time. And so to understand that that's a part of her game that she really can be very successful in, I think is crucial for us. And also, you know, if she's getting attention, is being able to pass and create for someone else, and she can be the complete player.
4 straight years, 20-plus wins. And a lot of it, you schedule very hard on your non-conference. This year we're looking at North Carolina State, Ole Miss, Auburn, and Virginia on the non-conference schedule. Does that contribute to the growth of this team? Because once again, no seniors. How much will that contribute?
I think it can. You always keep your fingers crossed and hope you did the right thing in scheduling, and you know around December whether you did. But our players really want to do that. They want to play that, and you know, obviously LSU's on there, and that's been a team that we've played consistently. Your team gets up for those games, and you get a lot out of them in those games, and you see what they're capable of. And sometimes when you win or lose coming out of those games, you feel like you know more about your team and they know more about themselves.
We're going to ask just kind of a general question, and Greg, we'll start with you with the answer. I want you to think about this. What would you change to improve women's college basketball? We've had a lot of different suggestions. The guys have talked about improving the men's side. But what would you change, or what would you suggest? It could be either on the court or off the court to improve the game.
Well, I think the women's, starting with the white paper that Val Ackerman wrote, addressed some of the issues from a neutral, very knowledgeable, experienced viewer, and to me, I think the biggest change this year in the women's game is going to be more protection for the offensive player, less physicality, so to speak. And last year, I think it was a red flag for all coaches. We set records for fewest points scored, lowest field goal percentage, lowest three-point percentage since the NCAA has taken over our game. So right now, the defense with bigger, quicker, longer athletes is ahead of the offensive game, and I think the coaches are trying to work with the referees to take some of the unnecessary physicality out of the game and let it be more free-flowing and give the offense a little more opportunity to score, which we need to do that.
Joy?
You know, I think the NCAA, one of the changes that was made that I think we will see some benefits from, and I think it was a great change, is allowing us to work with our female basketball players during the summer. I think that made a huge difference because you were able to work so much on skill development and fundamentals of the game. And I think that's going to really make a difference this year in the overall skill set. I think the other thing is the 10-second backcourt. I like that. I think it's going to, really put a different spin on the game and how the game is played.
Okay.
I mean, I agree with what they both said. You know, I'm big on the 10-second backcourt, so, it speeds up the game, and now you get high scoring and things like that. But it's all about relationships to me. I just want us to be careful how we're building our relationships with the classes prior to, now you're having 2015 and 14 home visits and texting and things like that. I want to keep the game pure, honest, and be, genuine as far as how we present ourselves. So I just want to make sure that we kind of walk that line of, making it about the relationships, making it about the student athlete first.
That's a good point. Lisa?
Okay, so some of these things are hard to accomplish. If I could wave a magic wand, I think one thing is I would love to see more developmental camps at younger ages. Years ago, we had camps. We all had camps, and you could really get kids at skill camp. Now they just want to play. I would love to see that. I think that's changed a little bit of the skill set that we're getting. I love working with them in the summer, but we get them in their college players. I'd love to see them develop when they're younger. I would love to see more money into promotions and marketing for women's basketball. We get a tough. I think people are really tough on our attendance figures, but how much is really invested into women's sports as opposed to the men's basketball teams? And it's all about promotion. You look at the WNBA and you look at all that and how that definitely affects. The last thing might be controversial. I'd like to see 13 scholarships because I'd like to see parity. One of the things with the men's game that's so exciting, NCAA tournament, there's so much parity. And I don't really believe that's because there's so many better men's players. I think that the men's players are spread out. And if you ask a lot of the men's coaches, they believe when the scholarship changed, there was more parity and the leagues could compete pretty equally against each other. So I know that's not real popular with a lot of people, but I think it would help a Conference USA, and it would help us be able to compete a little bit more against some bigger conferences.
Okay, I appoint all four of you commissioners.
No, we don't want that.
Wave the You can wave the one. Thank you, folks.
Thank you
Welcome
so
to the
much.
conference.
Yes.
So glad to have you here. Folks, we'll see you during the season. I'll be
Thank you,
back
Ron.
with the men's coaches coming up after this.